The Peter Schiff Show.
I'm going to play a sequence of clips from CNN. Paul Krugman was on over the weekend. First, I'm going to play cut number 4.
Think about World War II, right? That was actually negative social product spending, and yet it brought us out. I mean, partly because you want to put these things together. If we say, look, we could use some inflation, Ken and I are both saying that, which is, of course, anathema to a lot of people in Washington, but is in fact what the basic logic says. It's very hard to get inflation in a depressed economy, but if you had a program of government spending plus an expansionary policy by the Fed, you could get that. So if you think about using all of these things together, you could accomplish, a great deal.
So here is Paul Krugman again repeating the false premise that the spending in the Second World War got us out of the Depression. And what he's saying is we need more spending and we need inflation. He's saying that inflation is going to help us get out of our problems. And he said it's very hard to create inflation in a depressed economy. No, it's not. It's really easy. You just print money. Look at all the inflation in Zimbabwe. I mean, how much more depressed can an economy get? Is it difficult for the Zimbabwe government to create inflation? No, it's easy. You just run money off a printing press. I mean, one of the easiest things for governments to do is to create inflation. And in fact, the weaker your economy is, the easier it is to create that inflation. But again, what Paul Krugman is saying is that we need something like World War II. And he comes up with his own way to stimulate the economy. And if you remember, and if you don't, I wrote a column on Europac.net, and somebody actually turned it into a video, which I favorited on my YouTube channel. So go check it out, where I wrote a very tongue-in-cheek commentary about, hey, if World War II really got us out of the Depression, let's have World War III to get us out of this. And I said, but wait a minute, we don't want to have all the death and destruction to get all the benefits. So I said, let's have a fake World War III with paintball and stink bombs, and let's spend all this money, but let's make it fake. And that way we get all the benefits without people having to die. Now, I did that as a joke. Now, Paul Krugman actually comes up with his own solution, but he's serious. See, I was joking. This guy is actually serious. Here, play cut number 5.
I mean, if we discovered that space aliens were planning to attack, and we needed a massive buildup to counter the space alien threat, and really inflation and budget deficits took secondary place to that, this slump would be over in 18 months. And then if we discovered, whoops, we made a mistake, there aren't actually any space aliens.
So we need Orson Welles,
is
what you're saying.
No, there was a Twilight Zone episode like this in which scientists fake an alien threat in order to achieve world peace. Well, this time we don't need it. We need it in order to get some fiscal stimulus.
All right, there it is. I mean, I would nominate Paul Krugman for the Nobel Prize for Stupidity on that statement alone. And I challenge anybody to find a statement that would top that. I mean, here's what he's saying. We need to get the whole world ready for an alien invasion. That's not actually going to happen. That's all a mistake. But we should spend all of our resources building weapons to combat aliens. Maybe we need to, build huge cities underground so that we can hide out from these aliens that don't exist. I mean, basically, think about what Paul Krugman is saying is that we need a new bubble, but not a technology bubble or a housing bubble, but a bubble in defense spending to repel an alien attack, right? I mean, think about it. He wants a massive misallocation of resources on a global scale. You see, what was the tech bubble? See, we invested in internet companies that really weren't viable, they weren't profitable, and so ultimately, we realized that, we had a recession. And then we had a housing bubble where we built houses we didn't need and we couldn't afford. So what does Krugman thinks we should do now? We should prepare for a non-existent alien threat so that we can have a gigantic bubble around investing in a global defense system to protect us from these non-existent aliens. And if we do this, according to Krugman, we're going to have an economic boom. How? If we take resources that we need to use for things that we actually want, that can make our lives better, and instead we waste those resources preparing for an alien space battle that's never going to happen, how is that going to help the economy? I mean, this man went to college, he studied economics, and this is the best thing he could come up with? This is his economic stimulus? Prepare for a phony alien invasion? I mean, people look up to this guy. I mean, this is off the charts lunacy. But you know what? Hey, it makes sense if you're a Keynesian. Anyway, I got a little bit more sound to go into Paul Krugman's psyche To understand how this man thinks and the delusions of grandeur he actually harbors in secret. Here, this is from a 2008 interview on NobelPrize.org with Adam Smith. I guess not the Adam Smith, but an Adam Smith. Hey, play this. This is cut number 6.
I was an avid science fiction reader when I was a teenager, and there's the classic set of novels by Isaac Asimov, the Foundation novels, which are about how a group of social scientists save galactic civilization through their understanding of the laws that determine the behavior of societies. And I wanted to be one of those guys, and the closest you can get at this point, I'm afraid, is being an economist.
So Paul Krugman wanted to save the world, and he thinks he's going to save it as an economist? What is an economist going to do to save the world? I mean, talk about delusions of grandeur. And listen to this, it gets better. Here's how Paul Krugman thinks he's going to save the world as Super Krugman. I mean, maybe we ought to dress him up in like a Superman outfit with a big cape, and he can have like a big, E on his chest, for super economists, and he's going to come and he's going to save the world. And here is how this superhero, Paul Krugman, thinks he's going to single-handedly save the world. Cut number 7.
Do you still believe that economists have that role?
Oh, in the novels, these people are able to predict with high accuracy what's going to happen and find the precise intervention that saves civilization. Economics doesn't work that good, but no, there's a tremendous amount of understanding that comes from economic models, and sometimes that understanding can be the salvation of the economy. I believe that we're living in one of those times right now. If we had only the level of economic knowledge that the world had in 1929, I believe we would have another Great Depression. The reason to believe that that won't happen is that we think we understand this thing at least somewhat better than our grandfathers did.
So there we have it. He is going to save the world with his economic understanding. We're in a time now where it's not on the social scientists, but on the economists, that it's his job to save the world. We're about to collapse. And if we only had the knowledge that we had in 1929, we would collapse. But because of Paul Krugman and his super knowledge, because he has these brilliant economic models, he knows exactly what's wrong. And he's come up with a plan to save the world. And what is that? Well, we resurrect Orson Welles, and we fake an alien attack, a space alien attack, so we can ramp up for an invasion that never happens. You know what? Hey, maybe in the world of Krugman, it would be better for the economy if it was a real alien invasion and they annihilated us. They destroyed all of our buildings and all of our cities. Because you know what? That would really be stimulative. Because now we would have to build them all back up again. Watch out for those aliens.